So basically, Kwame Brown has used the All the Smoke podcast to capitalize his own podcasting career. Not just podcasting, but his own YouTube channel, Kwame Brown Bus Life. And to tell you the truth, the first time that I saw that YouTube channel, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was somebody that was making fun of Kwame Brown. But then I checked it out. Apparently, during an interview, Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson were making jokes about the trade that brought Pau Gasol to the Los Angeles Lakers. Basically, it was a 3-team trade. It was Javaris Crittenton, Marc Gasol, and Kwame Brown in exchange for Pau Gasol. But they were making a joke, basically saying, "Oh, it was a one-man trade, which was Marc Gasol for Pau Gasol." And that was supposed to be the end of it, because for the last 20 years, people have been taking shots at Kwame. Different people in the media have been going at him, saying he was a bust before he even got drafted, basically. Looking at that draft and not knowing who Kwame Brown was. I knew who Tyson Chandler was and some of the other players that were in that draft, but I did not know who Kwame Brown was for him to be the number one pick. But then we just didn't know Kwame's story. Nobody knew his story. He didn't even speak. I didn't even know Kwame could speak. I hadn't heard him speak in the whole time that he played NBA basketball. I had no idea about what his personality was like, how he really felt about the situation, and all those things. But after 20 years, he's talking. It's like they woke a sleeping giant, and he wasn't sleeping. He just was not entertaining it. He didn't want no parts of it. He was trying to stay out of all of that, get his money. He played 13 years in the NBA, so play his basketball and get out the game and go live a good life. But again, they woke a sleeping giant, you know what I'm saying, with that joke. And I think what really got to Kwame was the fact that the NBA is kind of like a fraternity. They like brothers, so they keep everything inside the NBA, and they don't expect for each other to let out the secrets or talk about each other. And when Kwame saw, Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes making fun of him, it must have struck a nerve. I think if any other commentator or reporter or any media personality had did the same thing, he probably wouldn't have come out and said anything. But what I'm seeing now also is an influx of, I guess, like sport stars creating podcasts now and getting into that podcast lane. Last year it was the rappers. I think they noticed, there's some money over there, let's get into this podcast game. And now it's the ball players. They telling their story from their point of view. You got Brandon Marshall and who is it? I forget. Brandon Marshall, Fred Taylor, Ocho Cinco. They got a podcast. I don't even know the name of their podcast. You got All the Smoke, which is probably the biggest one with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes that I know of. And you got a couple more out there, and they just kind of popping up left and right. One thing I've noticed is that since the Kwame Brown incident, a lot of NBA players are coming out and speaking because they see that Kwame created a whole lane over here. The beef has been going on for about 4 weeks now, for about 3 or 4 weeks now. At this point, it kind of looks like Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson have kind of faded to the back, even though they were the initial cause of all of this. But now there's new people. There's Charlamagne the God that popped out there. He made some very unconscious statements. This was not his battle. He didn't even have to say a word about any of this. He could have just stayed completely clear of this and continued doing his Breakfast Club thing. But by him getting into this, again, he woke a sleeping giant. He didn't have to say anything. It's like he swatted at the bear, and now Kwame Brown has to respond. When he responded, he brought the rape allegations back up, and now that's like a big story. They brought the girl who was allegedly raped. Now she's out. They got Funk Master Flex out here talking about Charlamagne. I think Funk Flex dropped a recording of the mother of the girl crying and telling the story about how Charlamagne's a monster and all of these things. So Charlamagne should have stayed clear of this. I don't know why he decided to insert himself in this situation. He had nothing to do with it, but now Charlamagne's in the spotlight because of this. Charlamagne takes me as a guy who doesn't really care about any of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like this is a big joke to him. This whole media thing, it's a big joke to him. Whenever people shoot shots at Charlamagne, it's almost like you can't, because he already laughing at himself. He's kind of like Kevin Hart. It's like you can't really throw darts at a guy that, shit, he don't care. It's like you can't really hurt a guy like that. So with Charlemagne, I don't know what's gonna come of this. He looks like he's just brushing it off like it's not a big deal. But again, the Kwame Brown situation is the reason why people are looking at Charlemagne now. You know, of course, Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is the reason all of this is happening. Without Stephen A. Smith, the whole Kwame Brown being a bust thing probably never would have got started. I think that's literally the way that Stephen A. Smith got his job at ESPN. Kwame Brown was sacrificed so Stephen A. Smith can be who he is today, have his own show, you know, First Take. He's kind of the guy at ESPN now, but he literally stepped on Kwame Brown's head to get where he is now. Sad, because you see a lot of black men do that to each other. You see a lot of black women do that to each other also. We feel like in order for us to get ahead, we have to insult, degrade, or try to bring another person down. But usually it's people that look just like us. They got the same skin as you know, which is crazy. But Stephen A. Smith came out with a commentary about Kwame Brown, basically some edited bloopers, I guess you could call it, that Stephen A. put together. It was a poor attempt to try to go back at Kwame. Kwame's been killing everybody he's going at right now with straight facts, you know. He doesn't have like the big production going on as far as what you see on his YouTube. It's just raw. It's just Kwame speaking his truth. He's not going at people that don't go at him first. He's literally just sitting back waiting on people to come at him. So, you know, I think Kwame is playing it very smart, very strategic. Like they always say, it's chess, not checkers. So what we watching with Kwame is literally a guy that has had 20 years to think of what he's gonna say if he ever said anything, and look at what it's doing. I mean, I think they said he had like 2,000-3,000 followers on IG before all of this. Now, I know last week the count was up to like 400,000 or something like that. So Kwame's creating a whole platform based on this, basically. I actually saw that last week he had Judge Joe Brown on, so it looks like he's about to start doing interviews. I think that going forward, I know that he can't continue to kind of go at it this way. The thing about his videos is it's not just him throwing shots at guys. He's giving game throughout. So his lane is bigger than all this beef stuff. A lot of guys, they get in the game with the beef, but if you don't have anything that can evolve into something else, usually they fall to the wayside. But with Kwame, if you really listen to his commentary, he's speaking a lot to black people and the foolery that we seem to be entertained by, and that bleeds over into our day-to-day lives. You know, I feel the same way. And on the Flash Guy radio show, that's what you're gonna hear a lot of. You know, me giving my opinion on what we can do to be better, what I can do to be better, what we all can do to be better. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of times our egos make us feel like we perfect, we better than other people, but really nobody's perfect. We're all humans at the end of the day. When it comes to this Kwame Brown situation, I'm entertained. A lot of his videos are like an hour plus, and because he's giving so much game throughout the videos, I'm entertained. I sit there and watch 30-40 minutes of it. Sometimes I watch the whole thing depending on what he's talking about. So he's got our attention, man. Now what he's gonna do next, that's what we're looking out for. But more power to Kwame Brown. Brother, keep speaking your truth. We listening. This is what the game is missing right now, and it's a breath of fresh air. So yeah, man, we're gonna keep it moving. Yeah.